So I left the Chef Ricardo outfit on without the accent because I do the thing with the accent because it's for diet advice, and then I also do these posts based on political science, which is my old field, and I feel like I'm somewhat qualified to shoot my mouth off about, even though there's a profusion of commentary, especially these days, about politics. But I wanted to say something about, and I've done some stuff about. I think it actually got some response. Is sort of this fantasy that if Trump really wanted to be a historical figure, what he should do is like pull a Emperor Constantine, which is suddenly find Jesus, but in sort of a bigger terms and sort of more less religious terms, just find the ethical opposition. And that gets back to my old favorite expression, which is enantiomer, which comes from Jung. And basically, it's something where it gets into chorality and so forth. I've got further comments on this, but it's a major theme of mine. It just keeps reoccurring, and it's so applicable to so many things. But an enantiomer, according to Jung, among its applications is something that becomes so extreme in one direction that it flips and becomes the reverse. So some examples would be in the 60s, when I was a kid, the protest against the Vietnam War, the protesters were accused of being fascists. Why? Well, the kids are being fascist because they have non-negotiable demands, and they would use force to take over the administration rooms at the administration offices at colleges and so forth. Interestingly enough, I've got a friend at Yale where all the other campuses freaked out. You got to force these kids out. They're taking over the offices, except for Yale. And apparently the Yale guy was, oh yeah, well, they're protesting. Okay, just let it roll. And they didn't have all this tremendous confrontation like you had in other campuses. So enantiomer and nature seeks balance and chorality. Another thing from Far Eastern religions is karma, which is, what goes around comes around. So we have the Vietnam War. We have the Vietnam War based on a lie and corrupt principles. We fabricate a premise to go to war. We bomb the daylights out of them, and we lose. So what happens? Eventually, now you look at Vietnam, and they're doing business, and they're, they're actually an ally of ours. They've got communists, and here's China, and gee whiz. I guess what the big subject of the 21st century is China and the emergence of China, which was behind the Vietnam War. And well, it's a dominoes. Oh, we got to be so afraid. And we're afraid because it gets to be a military discussion and so forth. Cold War, when I was a kid, oh, we got to be afraid of Russia. Oh, man, we're so paranoid of Russia. And this justifies the military-industrial complex, and we have, we completely overspend the rest of the world. We're doing 40 trillion, as I understand it, $40 trillion, the same, the same amount as the scary debt that's going to bring down the economics of the world, including ourselves. So we spend $40 trillion on defense, and we wonder why the rest of the world is scared of us. Scared of us, the United States? What's there to be scared about? We invented, we got to make sure that other people don't have nuclear weapons. We invented nuclear weapons. That's it. It was our invention. Now, we won World War II by it, and it was necessary at the time. There's a whole long discussion about this stuff. What goes around comes around, guys. Hitler wants to beat on the Jews. Okay, Hitler wants an atomic bomb. Yeah. Well, it just so happens that all the really capable physicists either had a Jewish wife or they were Jews themselves, and they come to the United States, and the United States gets to get the bomb first. So if Russia, for example, had invented the bomb first and won the Second World War by the use of atomic weapons, gee, would we be a little worried about Russia having one power having monopoly of nuclear weapons? Maybe. So, we're really surprised that Russia gets the bomb and everybody else wants to build a competitive arsenal of nuclear weapons. And well, we find the world that's on the verge of self-destruction. And but we invented it. We came up with it. So, let's see now. We've got this really superior, we've got the scariest, biggest, baddest military in the world, and we've been spending money. And we've got this, it's kind of burning a hole in our pocket. We've got this tremendous overinvestment in military. Let's try picking fights. Now that we're losing the game economically, let's try picking fights based on what we have most of, which is, let's play our big cards, which is domestic. And let's try it on Iran, who suffered 8 years, isolated against Iraq, but they're still standing. So we're going to scare them because we got the superior, we got the fancy weapons, and gee whiz, they're not folding. And guess what? They're threatening the entire economic system, the capitalist system that's so big and wonderful. So let me bring us to the point, which is here's Trump. Trump is the worst nightmare. If you wanted to invent an almost an antichrist, but that's arguable, an anti-president that personifies everything that we don't want in a president, there you have Trump. But on the other hand, he represents what is a real part of the capitalist system, which is the big bad boss, who's the emperor, okay? So we're all for ourselves, we're all selfish, because that's how we make up our consciousness. We're all individual first. We have our own self-survival, and that translates into being better and bigger and tougher than the rest of the world. It's an old theme that goes way back. So if you want to have a good guy capitalism, if you want to have the Marshall Plan, you want to do business instead of war, all right, there's a good application of capitalism. But you get carried away, right? You get so extreme with this cult of the individual, and everything's for me, and I don't care about society, and it flips. It turns into its opposite. So what you have is a capitalism that's supposed to be liberating and fulfilling of the individual turns into a repressive, fascist, imperialist regime. It becomes corrupt in excess. So we have an excess of military weapons. We try it on Iran, and guess what? It's not working. What goes around comes around. So nature seeks a balance. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That's Newton. That's from centuries ago. That's physics. And we're trying to get educated, but now we have a potential. We have a big turning. So if capitalism has turned so rotten that our fulfillment, our personification of the billionaire big business ideal is a guy like Trump, he plays a perfect role. He plays the perfect heel. He is how business goes bad, how capitalism goes bad, projected on a world scale. If he's so bad, once he goes, we have an opportunity to actually flip the coin, which means the system ain't working like it is. Capitalism ain't working like it is. It's producing this type of an outcome. Flip it. Let's try to find, and so to speak, let's all find Jesus. Let's go good. This is why I say, if he wanted to really be an Alexander the Great, how great would it be if this guy says, geez, I'm so sorry for what I'm doing. I see what you mean. We don't want war. We don't want to kill a lot of people. We want to do business. We really want to convert everything into a golf clubs and resort hotels. That's a fine vision, but let's do it right. Let's not do it corrupt. Let's not do it selfishly. Let's distribute our wealth. Let's not compete. Let's not run down the labor in other countries. Let's give them a decent buck for their labor, so we don't have disproportionate competition. So we don't have to send it to where the poor slaves are making our iPhones. We can manufacture iPhones everywhere because globally labor is going to be treated well, because globally capitalism isn't going to be distorted into just rent seekers and capitalist hoarders. That when you invest money, it's not going to be in a gambling casino like the stock market. You're going to invest money into stuff that actually produces things, and not just the derived effect of finance. So that's the 2 cents that I have to say, and I hope I've attracted more. I heard that somebody had a website that he was doing classical music. It was beautiful, had no followers. Then he decided to eat while he was doing the classical movement, and then put on 100 pounds, and everybody was fascinated. So that's why the costume for a political discussion.